Welcome to Between the Reads, where we shine a spotlight on some of the most talented Black authors in the industry to discuss their works of fiction and the inspirations behind them. Each episode will dive into the rich and diverse world of literature, exploring everything from historical fiction to romance and speculative fiction to YA and beyond. Tune in as we celebrate the voices of Black authors and the power of storytelling. Are you ready, Boos and Bros? Then sit back, relax, and let's get to it. Ashon Ruffins is a native New Orleanian and a veteran. He holds a master's in business administration while holding certifications for several other professions. He loves the art of storytelling in all genres and believes the best lessons in life can be told through fiction. Ashon, welcome to Between the Reads, and please tell me I'm saying your name right.
You are 100% correct. You nailed it.
All right. Yes, I forgot to ask before we got on the show. So welcome to Between the Reads, sir.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Yes, and why don't you tell our readers what the Descent of a Broken Man is all about?
Well, it's about mental health in a broad sense. So The Uncovered Darkness, that's the first book, Descent of a Broken Man. It all deals with mental health issues. This one deals with depression and anxiety, and specifically Black men, but of course all men can relate to it. Sometimes, I don't know if you've ever heard, men could be a little stubborn. So it's about a guy who's clinically depressed. He has all the talents, he has all the smarts, but depression keeps getting in his way. And I set the book back in 1994 because there wasn't a lot of awareness when it came to mental health issues. So he didn't want to, in the book, he doesn't want to get the help that he needs because he doesn't want to look weak. Just like any man believes, opening up to anyone makes him look weak. So that's what it's generally about. But of course, there are a bunch of horror elements to it. So.
Oh, yes. So what was the inspiration for this tale of light versus dark? I mean, I know it's about mental health, but this is the most interesting twist on mental health I've ever seen. So what was the inspiration for this book?
Well, I journaled. I had my own struggles, so I journaled to get through them. And when you have that kind of struggle in your life, it seems like everything else is around you is covered in darkness. So the name of it, Uncovered Darkness, the name of the series, kind of has a double entendre to it. You're uncovering the veil of darkness that clouds over you. And in the book, you're uncovering the darkness of things that go bump in the night in the world. So it's all about trying to get through that darkness and finding the light. And sometimes finding that light is one of the hardest things you can do in your life.
Now, the main character, James, he's a Black man dealing or not dealing with his depression. And he believes that seeking therapy is for weak people. And it's especially not for Black men, in his opinion.
Correct.
So in what ways does James' reluctance to seek help for his severe depression and anxiety reflect the stigma and challenges that are often associated with mental health issues in Black men?
Well, as a Black man, when you grow up, everyone kind of promotes holding in all of your emotions. Don't cry. Don't express yourself. Be strong at all times. Put all your feelings away. Make sure you push on, keep on, do the things you need to do. And all the other stuff is for weakness. Put that weakness aside. So it's kind of been ingrained generation over generation over generation. And we're still struggling with it as men, especially as Black men, how to express ourselves, how to open up, who to open up to. Do you trust the significant other in your life with some of your darkest secrets? Do you trust a friend with it? Should you seek professional help? Is medication required? can you trust a professional on the other end of you who may not
Right.
look like you? There's a lot of things to it. So yeah, it's a very internal struggle that most people still, haven't come to a conclusion on how to deal with.
Right. And James's marriage is on the rocks,
Mm.
and his wife is verbally abusive.
Yes, she is.
And that played out in a larger way in his life and his ability to perform his job.
Hmm.
So, I want to talk about the impact of personal relationships on mental well being.
Okay. All right. So yeah, his wife is a bit
She's
challenging. She didn't start out that way in
she's
there.
a piece of work. She's a piece. I don't care what she didn't start out that way, but that is always there. I don't care what anybody says. The red flags were there, and
Yes, they
he
were.
didn't pay attention to them.
No,
Okay, because people don't just become evil. There, it's always there.
it's always there, but when you're young and in love, sometimes
Mm-hmm.
the blinders are on.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, personal relationships. So when it comes to depression, especially clinical depression,
Mm-hmm.
it's not often that it's an early onset. Sometimes it happens early in life. So he's with Candace, uh,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not so much of a an issue early on. But
Mm-hmm.
James is smart. He's talented. He has
Mm-hmm.
goals.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, things set in. So and him and his wife kind of drift apart. I don't want to give away too many
Yeah,
spoilers.
don't give away too many spoilers, but they do drift apart.
They kind of drift apart,
Uh
and
huh.
he definitely doesn't want to talk to her about it. He's
Mm-hmm.
pushing forward. He has his tunnel vision. It's like looking through the world in a thimble. It's
Mm-hmm.
tunnel vision. It's singular focus. He has the pain, but he doesn't have anyone to talk to. She's the
Mm-hmm.
closest person in his life outside of his friends that
Mm-hmm.
play a significant role. One of them plays a significant role,
Yep.
and yeah, it's not there for him. He knows he can't trust her. Deep down inside, he knows.
Yeah, and it's just interesting because, they say I have this little plaque and it has all these rules for, having a happy life. And the number one rule is who you marry, and I'm paraphrasing because I can't remember exactly how it said, but it says who you marry affects 99% of how your life turns out.
Yes, I can believe that.
And Candace, I mean, she had this brother so in a chokehold with her verbal abuse
Hmm.
that my man can't stand up for himself at work with his trifling boss who's stealing ideas from him.
No.
And he just doesn't have the confidence in himself. I think it's affecting his research.
Hmm.
It's affecting his the way that he projects himself to other people. So he's going to, he's talking to people, and people are just like, oh, okay, James, and they're just rolling their eyes at him, and he's like on the cusp of something great, but he can't figure it out because he's fighting all these demons.
Yes. Yes. So it's kind of like reinforcement. So he's
Mm-hmm.
projecting it, like you said, but every time he projected it and he's getting that feeling from people and that dismissiveness, it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of reinforcing the thoughts that's already plaguing him in his head.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and Janice, I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. Candace, I'm not going to spoil that one. Candace, it came to a point to where James wanted to prove something for himself,
Mm-hmm.
but once they started drifting, it became more about him wanting to prove her wrong and everybody else around him,
Mm-hmm.
and it really it affected his judgment severely, and he didn't take responsibilities for his own actions.
Mm-hmm.
I want to add to that he's not a
Mm-hmm.
he's a victim to a certain extent, but
Mm-hmm.
he has to take responsibilities for his actions.
Right. And I'm not going to give anything away, but I do love this symbolism here because James battles this monster of depression.
Hmm.
And without saying anything else,
Right.
I think it's very interesting the way that you made his character.
Okay. Yeah, that monster and that tool he used to help deal with his depression. It's an underlying theme. I don't know how many people actually pick up on it, but if you notice, every time that tool is used, it's kind of addictive,
Yep.
and and every time he uses it, it's not the same as before.
No.
So it gives that underlying theme of self medication, any alcoholism, drug use, or anything else like that. Um, yeah, that darkness, that demon, is tight, and
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it sometimes it can lead to a fight for your life.
And they're all battling demons in
Hmm.
this book. Some to much larger degrees than others, and they're all in their own way self-medicating because you have Nola, she's got
Hmm.
her own demons that she's dealing with,
Yes,
and
she
she's
does.
self-medicating.
Hmm.
And even his wife, she has some demons that she's not dealing with. And her choice of self medication is to try and find somebody else to, fit
Yeah,
her lifestyle.
and get that high off of insulting James every chance you get, making him feel bad,
Right.
like a true
Right.
bully.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of symbolism
Hmm.
when you think about the book after because after I read it I was sitting there and I was writing my questions because I was taking notes while I was reading, and I was like, there's a lot of symbolism in here. I wonder if people are picking up on. I mean, it's a good horror book. Don't get me wrong, y'all. This isn't like some dry book like, oh, we're talking about mental health. No, but I can't give things away. But
Right.
let me just say that who James starts out to be is not who James ends up being.
Yeah. And I wanted people to be conflicted with it too. I don't know if it happens to you, and
It did.
I think the bookmark that I sent with you, it kind of is double sided. So
Yeah, and I didn't realize that at first. And then one day I was reading because I read it over the week,
hmm
and I had it on the darkness side, and then the bookmark fell, and I went to go put it back in, and it was on the light. I was like, oh shit,
which side? Yeah. Which
it's
side did you choose?
oh. This bookmark has two sides. And I was like, I don't really know what side I'm on right now. Because James was such a good person. He was such a victim,
Yeah.
and but it's also that thing of like, how long are you going to allow yourself to be a victim, and when are you going to just stop and
Exactly.
say, okay, I'm not going to be a victim anymore? And he kind of did choose to do that, but the way that he did it was
Misguided.
a little,
Right. Yeah.
a little deadly.
A little deadly. And I was trying to get that rage he felt internally out. So,
Yes.
and I'll just say, in events and the deaths, you may have seen how violent some of them were. Um, yeah. So, yeah. And the other symbolism was one of my favorite characters, but um, not my wife's favorite character at all, was Deacon Bianchi. So, yeah. So, you know how it is.
All I'm
Um,
going to say is I was happy with what happened to him.
yes. A lot of people were, and a lot of people were
Woo!
very upset about another character. I'm not even going to say the name because
Cause you listen, I was mad. I had to close the book.
yeah, I slept on the couch.
That's right. I'm good for your wife for putting you on the couch because that was not necessary, sir. That was not necessary.
It it was a battle of spiritualism versus religion. So Deacon Bianchi represents that religious aspect of everybody saying, "Oh, don't worry about. You're just a little sad. Go to church and pray." Well,
Right.
yes, that may help for some people, but if there's a chemical imbalance, there's a little bit more that needs to go into it.
Right.
And Priestess Nadia represents that spirituality in all of us. and that goodness, that soul. That's why he was such a good friend of hers. So,
We
yeah.
gonna get to that. I got you. I got some questions on that, sir.
Okay.
So, how do the brutal religious murders in the city serve as a metaphor of the turmoil within James Corbin's own life? And what themes might emerge when you're examining the intersection of external violence and internal struggles?
Okay. Perfect. Um, James wasn't a religious man himself. However, his whole identity actually revolved around religion and history. So, him doing the research and knowing what's out there and the different aspects of Zoroaster religion, the duality, the good, the bad, the evil deity, the good deity. Uh, it was something that led him on his path. But the religious murders were in a direct, on a collision course. Something that he needed to find value within himself, to prove everyone wrong. But at the same time, that light at the other end of the tunnel wasn't the light he was looking for. It was a greeting or a meeting by someone
Right.
who had ill intent and using the word and his religion to inflict pain on those who he felt deserved it. Now, as far as the intersection of internal and external, Dinky Bianchi represents what James feels he deserves internally. Externally, he is everything that James despises in humanity.
Yep.
And that's why he was out to expose some of the things that the supernatural elements, the uncovered darkness that happens. It's out there and what it's doing to humanity. So yeah.
'Cause when I tell y'all that this book, please not get it twisted. This is a horror book, but it is a horror book that deals with religion, spirituality.
Mhm.
It deals with depression. It deals with the struggles with depression. But it's done in such an interesting way, and we know what's going on the whole time as
Mhm.
the reader, but the characters don't quite know what's going on and why. And I
No.
really like the way that you did that, because a lot of times with the book, we don't know what's going on as the reader, and you reveal it slowly,
Mhm.
and there may be characters in the book who know what's going on and they reveal it slowly to us. But in this book, we know what's going on. We're like sitting out here watching all this and yelling at people like, "Do you see what's happening?"
Right. Yeah.
So we know, but they're figuring it out. They're piecing it together
Yes.
the whole time. And so that brings me to Nola. She's a cop. She's trying to figure out what's going on with all these murders in New
Mhm.
Orleans, and they're quite gruesome.
Yes.
And she doesn't want to believe what one of the killers is.
Right.
And she's struggling with her own faith and religion because of some of the things that she's witnessed. And so she's really got this struggle kind of going on, because she's like, if I believe this, then this, like, it totally takes my whole world apart. It totally, questions a lot of things about religion,
Mhm.
and you can see her struggling with that. She's also struggling with what she witnessed at the hands of a religious person who's supposed
Mhm.
to be a godly person.
Right.
So, how does her journey add to the depth of her exploration of faith and doubt and belief?
Okay. So I want to preface this. I get some slack from jumping from different people's perspective in the book, but I
Okay.
feel that in order to actually get a, a big picture of the motivation of each of these characters, you need to be in their headspace for a little while.
Right.
So Nola, everybody, not everybody, that's a general term, but a lot of people have trauma. And
Mm-hmm.
Nola is an exceptional person,
Mm-hmm.
um, very talented, and ingrained in her with a strong upbringing of Catholicism.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Catholic
Mm-hmm.
religion. This is the way it is. This
Right.
is the way it should be.
Mm-hmm.
And that religion led her to becoming a cop,
Mm-hmm.
which often tells you the same. This is the way it is out here. Because you
Right.
see everybody on their worst day as a police officer.
Mm-hmm.
So usually when they're called,
Mm-hmm.
um, and for her to when she meets James and for her to see this, it's like looking in the mirror for herself.
Mm-hmm.
She had her trauma without going into it, and
Mm-hmm.
she sees what's going on. And the question she has to ask herself is everything the way I was taught, or is there more to God and religion than just
Right.
black and white? There's a
Mm-hmm.
whole lot of gray in between. So
Mm-hmm.
her journey is conflict to expose her to a bigger world that actually carries on into book two as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's just, oh, she's so interesting.
I love that
She's,
character. She's
I
great.
mean, I love Nola. She's so, because she's struggling with her faith. She's
Hmm.
starting to self-medicate, and
Yes.
it's picking up with the alcohol, because as things are starting to fall apart around her, and she's realizing that everything isn't as it seems. You know, she's dependent on that bottle more and more and
Yes.
more. You know, and it's just it's interesting seeing she and James are really, to me, they are two sides of the same coin.
Yes. 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 They are.
Yeah. Okay. So I got that right. So they're
Yes.
two sides of the same coin, and they both are struggling
Hmm.
with core foundational things about themselves. With her, it's her faith and her religion
Hmm.
outright. With James, it's his self-esteem and
It's
his
disease.
self-worth.
Hmm.
So they're really two sides of the same coin. They're both struggling with foundational things that make them who they are, and they have to make choices that are going to affect who they are going forward.
Yes. Yes. And that's exactly why there was that attraction and that sexual tension between them as well,
Mm-hmm.
because they kind of saw a reflection of each other,
Mm-hmm.
and it's why Nola took to James so quickly. They
Mm-hmm.
both recognized each other's intelligence, each other's
Mm-hmm.
purity in each other's soul,
Right.
and the pain in each other's eyes as well. And there's a it was the same tool, it was the same events that
Mm-hmm.
brought them together and brought them
Mm-hmm.
along their journey um, to certain events. Yeah.
Yep, and I like the use of eyes in this, because James' eyes, and you know everyone's looking into his eyes.
Yes.
And eyes are it's they say your eyes are your window to the soul.
Hmm.
Excuse me. So I love the use of eyes in this, and I love that even when he's not recognizable, let's leave it like that,
Hmm.
you can look in his eyes and you can see he's there. Even when his eyes kind of change, you
Right.
still recognize him. And I think that just goes to back to the whole thing of, even when someone is fighting, whatever demons they're fighting, if you look into their eyes, you could still see that person there. Sometimes, though, like with Bianchi, you look in his eyes and ain't nothing there.
There's nothing there.
Nothing.
Only what he perceives to be there. His own little ego.
Nothing.
Yeah. Right.
It's nothing there.
Nothing there.
But I
Soulless
love how
spirit.
the eyes are used. That just was really like you really used all of these different things. The symbolism is so great. You know,
Yes.
and you're giving messages without, some books are like preachy, and no, you're just like
Right.
telling the story. But if you're paying attention,
Hmm.
you're following things and you're picking things up. And you said people are giving you flack about having everything being in like different points of view. All you have to do, people, is pay attention to the beginning of the chapter.
Right.
He gives you a quote and tells you who's saying it, and that's how you know who's talking in the chapter. Simple.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's simple.
I tried to prepare people with that one, and I wrote it, and you didn't see. Thinking of it as a highway, everyone
Right.
merging on. You didn't.
Hmm.
You didn't know where the road was going to take you. You didn't know how it was going to intersect, and
Right.
yeah, you needed to. You needed to see certain people to understand why.
Hmm.
And yes,
Hmm.
definitely the eyes. The eyes are a huge part. I think in
Yes.
anybody, and you can see a little bit of that person even as they change, even
Hmm.
as they grow and struggle. And
Hmm.
he had several warnings from people close to him,
Yep.
and I always have to
Yeah.
stop short before I give something away.
He didn't listen. That's all we gonna say. He didn't listen, and James
Miss
was
James,
James. James was Jamesing in this book.
yes, he was, and he still had a decision. He had a decision to make toward the ending of the book,
Listen, if
and he made his
you
choice.
if you would have hurt Nola, I would have canceled this interview. I'm telling you right now.
Oh, well,
You
goodness,
cannot take Nola from me, sir.
Nola is Nola. Nola is the central character for the entire series, the three-book
Okay,
series.
good. So
So
that means she ain't going nowhere. Cause when she was woo,
I
I was
can't
just like,
promise that.
don't you dare.
I can't promise that. I might get real Games of Thrones. I
So
don't know.
you gonna just red wedding the
I
whole
can't.
book, huh?
I
Okay,
can't make any
Lord have
promises. No,
mercy. Oh goodness gracious.
none.
Well, so we talked a little bit about Priestess Nadia. I want to go back to that a little bit because the African spirituality was stripped from enslaved people and Christianity was really forced on us.
Yes.
I want to talk about that in relation to the interactions between Priestess Nadia and Father Bianchi, because there were two interactions, and she even laid it out for him plain, like, you're not going to come up in here telling me what kind of religion to
Right.
have,
Yes.
because that's not my religion. So I want to talk about that. Why was that important for you to have that, to touch on that topic?
Um, two things. Men, the black household.
Hmm.
Um, Men are an integral part in that, and our struggles affects that. Women are the foundation of that household, and Priestess Nadia is African spirituality, the
Hmm.
soulness of black people, and Big Mama rolled all into one, all of that wisdom. So I thought it was important
Hmm.
for that conversation to finally be had, because we're not really having that conversation. We're trying to, and we're doing it over social media, and we're really just yelling at each other.
Hmm.
But Priestess Nadia laid it out to Deacon Bianchi,
Hmm.
plain and simple. This is what it is. You're not going to come in here and tell me how to run my life, how
Hmm.
to celebrate my life, and how to celebrate others, and who can
Hmm.
I help based off of what you determine is important.
Right.
And that conversation needed to be had. And right now, currently, the rebuttal is still the same
Hmm.
as Bianchi. It mirrors reality.
Hmm.
And hopefully we get to the point where everybody ears are open on that part. But
Right.
sometimes we need to just step back and let people be people and listen. But you're not going to play with Priestess Nadia. You're not. She is not to be toyed with. She's not to be played with. And she might not be done.
What? Okay, don't play with me, Ashon. Okay.
So,
All right.
okay.
Okay.
All right.
I wish y'all could. I can't give any spoilers. I need y'all to understand that what he's saying is crucial. And you need to go pick up this book. And now I didn't even realize the second book is already out. So I need to get it.
You'll have something in the mail soon.
Okay, because I'm going to say why. Because that's the thing. I was like, he got the second book out. Why he didn't send it with the first one? So I could just keep reading.
Oh, I wasn't sure if you want to like the
I would,
first
I
one.
would, I would,
Everybody has their own thing, so I wanted to see your reaction first, but don't worry, you'll get more of Nola, and a very interesting, probably my favorite story. A Sin of a Vengeful Woman is
All
probably my
right.
my favorite story.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you about that in a minute. Right now, we're going to talk about New Orleans because
Okay.
I feel like New Orleans is a character in itself in the book.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to find out, how did the city influence the actions of the characters in your story?
So, anyone from New Orleans, whether you love it or hate it,
Mm-hmm.
visit it, live here, born and raised, it kind of leaves an impression on you.
Mm-hmm.
Some will say it infects you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. There's so many layers to it. There's so many pieces of New Orleans you'll find, and
Mm-hmm.
it depends on what what you open yourself up to.
Mm-hmm.
So, from Nola's perspective, it's the crime. It's
Mm-hmm.
the dirt humanity does to each other.
Mm-hmm.
It's how people are hurting each other. It's a memory of her own trauma. It's where she's been all of her life, and it's always been pain.
Mm-hmm.
For James, it's history,
Mm-hmm.
it's art, it's religion, it's
Mm-hmm.
the capital of everything he believes in and
Mm-hmm.
struggles to understand.
Mm-hmm.
And the same for Deacon Bianchi. It's
Mm-hmm.
one of the main houses of the Catholic religion here. So, I mean, it's a high Catholic population.
Mm-hmm.
He was kind of drawn to it coming from Italy.
Mm-hmm.
So, and with all of that, you have, I call it mini Sin City.
Mm-hmm.
All of those things you can do on Bourbon and beyond.
Right.
And it has all of these tales of supernatural things that happen.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a perfect nesting ground for the story and for
Mm-hmm.
everyone to kind of get their own piece of the city
Mm-hmm.
to have it come underneath one umbrella.
Now, did you name her Nola because of New Orleans? Because I know people call it Nola. So is that why you named her that?
I named her that because she embodies New Orleans. Yes, she has
Okay.
the spirit, she has the strength to carry on, and she has a lot of fire in her too.
Yep.
Yes, she does.
Nola's that girl. She
Yeah.
ain't scared of nothing and nobody.
Mm-mm. No, she mirrors Priestess Nadia, except much younger.
Mm-hmm. And when she was packing her guns and making her Molotov cocktails, I was like, come on, Nola. Do
Yes.
it, girl. She's like, I see you. Come on out.
Mm-hmm.
Shoot,
Yeah.
shoot. Yep.
Yeah. And her friend is actually modeled after someone who I worked with before, kind of toward the end of the book, the
Mm-hmm.
chaplain. So
Okay.
yeah, that
Yeah, because
that
she kind of gave her the business, too. She was like, where's your God now?
yeah, like
Why
she's
is your God allowing all this stuff to happen? But the chaplain came back with it. She was like, oh, excuse me.
exactly, exactly.
She's
So
she's like, I understand that you've been through some stuff, but maybe all that stuff is preparing you for this moment. She's like, so you telling me all this stuff happened because of me? She's like, I did not say that. Excuse me.
she found the light.
Yep,
So
she did. She did.
yeah, New Orleans
So
embodies that.
you grew up in New Orleans.
Yes.
What was that like? And how did it influence the research that you may have done for this book?
Okay, I grew up in New Orleans. Most of my childhood was in the 90s,
Okay.
so my teen years. When you can
Okay.
really understand everything that's
Mm-hmm.
going on around you. New Orleans in the 90s, and unfortunately, some things that are going on now was extremely violent. Talking
Mm.
murder capital of the world,
Mm-hmm.
police corruption, all of that, all of that great stuff.
Right.
So, uh, and I just remember it always being hot, and there's
Mm-hmm.
always tragedy around the corner, and you
Mm-hmm.
always had to, look over your shoulder. But
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in such a great household with great siblings. It
Mm-hmm.
was kind of like being isolated, and we weren't rich growing up,
Mm-hmm.
but we had a great dad. We had great mothers
Mm-hmm.
that helped guide us and keep us on the right path. And we we helped each other. We watched
Mm-hmm.
each other. All of my siblings are older than me. I'm the youngest, five
Okay.
years older, 11 years and 13 years older than me. So
Oh
I got
wow.
to watch them, you know, their journeys, and I got to learn from them.
Mm-hmm.
And so the things that played a significant role in my memories as a
Mm-hmm.
child, I wanted to go back and visit those scenes and had
Mm-hmm.
significant things happen uh,
Mm-hmm.
in the book.
Mm-hmm.
So St. Louis Cemetery, um, uh, French Quarter, even
Mm-hmm.
Bourbon Street, a few
Mm-hmm.
things like that. It,
Mm-hmm.
the research part, I go back to the site, I would visit it, I would sit out there, I would take it in, see what
Mm-hmm.
I remember about my childhood and how it is now,
Mm-hmm.
reflect on the changes, and decide
Mm-hmm.
how I want that scene, how I want to reflect New Orleans in the book.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay. I was gonna say, well, I had to think about your timeline because I remember where you were set. Because I was gonna say I didn't see anything about Katrina in there, but then I remembered that you said it, so that happened. This took
right.
place before Katrina.
Yes.
So, a side note, what was that? Were you there when Katrina happened?
I was there, yes. I was actually former New Orleans police officer.
Wow.
So, yeah,
Because
I
Katrina happened on my birthday, by the way, August
did it.
29th.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it was horrific. Um,
Mm.
I just remember being on the rooftop and seeing so many unfortunate things going on.
Mm. Mm.
But New Orleans, as always, comes back. It
Right.
prevails. It still has its struggles,
Mm-hmm.
but it still has its soul right now. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and I kind of didn't want to. It felt like an exploitation to me. If I would
Okay.
add anything about Katrina into the book, there's
Mm-hmm.
so much tragedy there.
Mm-hmm.
It felt easy, and I didn't want to
Mm-hmm.
do that. And so and plus, and I knew how much mental health was a struggle for everybody in the 90s, and it wasn't about
Right.
going to help. So
Mm-hmm.
I felt in the 90s was the perfect time where it was so volatile for everyone in the city because of the crime, the economy, and
Mm-hmm.
everything else going on. I felt that was the perfect time. But in the next book, I jumped 15 years into the future. So
So we might see some of the aftermath of that then.
yes,
Okay.
yes,
So, speaking of resilience, New Orleans is known for its resilience in the face of challenges, including natural disasters and social issues. So, how does this theme of resilience manifest in your book?
well, can't say that. Okay. Okay. I'll focus on one character, Nola.
Okay.
Her name
Okay.
is Nola. Uh, Regardless of her struggle,
Mm-hmm.
regardless of her self medication, she knew there was something important that needed to be done.
Mm-hmm.
She still had spirit, and she felt responsible for her city and her family. So that resiliency that she was raised with her parents and her sister, um, it carried over, and
Mm-hmm.
she embodies the spirit of New Orleans. Is what I wanted, and the strength. I wanted her to embody the spirit of New Orleans. I wanted her to embody the strength of women overall in general, and I wanted her to be a character known for her brains and her
Mm-hmm.
creativity and her
Mm-hmm.
resiliency, as you brought up,
Mm-hmm.
more than her sexuality. She's still
Mm-hmm.
a very attractive woman,
Mm-hmm.
but throughout the book, outside of James, but
Right.
James sees more in her.
Mm-hmm.
Throughout the book, that is what's emphasized, who she is, even when she had to deal with some of the pigs and of her,
Right.
her coworkers.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, but she she embodies the resiliency and the smartness and the toughness that
Mm-hmm.
the city of New Orleans is.
Mm-hmm. But she's also coming to the realization that, okay, I need to get started on, having a family here,
Yes.
because she's got this successful career, but she also has her sister who's in the same line of work, but on the federal level.
Hmm.
And her sister, her sister even comes to New Orleans very pregnant, trying to track down this murderer,
Right.
and she's like, she's having her own, you know, forgive the pun, but come to Jesus moment where she's like, you know what? Life is short and I need to do more than just this job.
She reflects change. Is she
Hmm.
really happy with her job?
I don't know.
Hmm.
I'm kind of feeling
Hmm.
conflicted about that. Like she's feeling some pressure because she's known for closing cases,
Hmm.
But I think if she did, I think if she was happy with her job, what they asked her to do
Hmm.
with Bianchi changed that. If anything flipped the switch for her, in my opinion, it was that.
Right. It goes back to that morally gray area.
Mm-hmm.
Is the greater good worth your own soul?
Right.
Is becoming a better person indicative, and is the collateral damage worth it to
Right.
everyone around you?
Mm-hmm.
Just so you can get to your journey. And that
Right.
falls more on James' side. But
Mm-hmm.
she has to change. She
Mm-hmm.
can't keep drinking the way she's drinking. She can't keep
Mm-hmm.
going about it the way she's going about it.
Mm-hmm.
And if she wants New Orleans to change, maybe she has to do some changing of her own
Right.
and
I'm
accept.
just hoping that dangling of that carrot of a promotion is not gonna. I hope she's gonna be able to stay on track.
15 years is a long time. And if she sees some things that she saw,
Mm-hmm.
maybe she feels there's a higher calling.
Mm-hmm. All right. So now, what is the name of this series again?
It's the Uncover Darkness series. So, like I said, it uncovers the darkness in all of us.
Right. And so now, this Descent of a Broken Man was the first one, and what is the second one that's out right now?
Ascent of a Vengeful Woman.
Okay. I was looking at the cover while I was waiting for you.
Oh, really?
What is going on? Okay, what tease us as to what we can expect without giving spoilers.
Okay. Nola's journey isn't done. And this time it's a little bit of a fish out of water. New Orleans is
Mm.
not involved, maybe briefly. And the darkness of the world is becoming a little bit more severe. And there's some serious issues that happen in a small town of Dalyville, Tennessee. That
So
needs
she's
to be
not.
dealt
So we're not in New Orleans. Okay.
with. Mm-mm. We're in a very
Oh.
bitter, cold environment, small town USA,
Oh
and
boy.
some shit is about to go down.
Oh Lord. Well, we
And
in a
Nola needs
small
to deal
town in
with it.
Tennessee, so that already tells me half of what I need to know right there.
Nola
Yeah.
needs to deal with it. She's improved her skills as let's call her a hunter.
Oh. Oh boy.
So yeah.
Do we see James?
You won't see James in this one. No.
Okay. So how many more? Because you're being slick on your website talking about these two, and then your little ellipses. Is there how many books are in the series, sir?
There's three books. I'm currently writing the third one. All hell is
Okay.
gonna break loose. The past comes back for all of us. Just like in the second book, the past comes back. So there's a lot that's going to be going on, and there'll be return of some characters, and you'll say goodbye to some characters.
Listen.
But the characters do expand in the second book. There are more characters that come along for the ride. Just remember
That's not going to make up for you taking people away, sir. I'm just going to let you know.
there are consequences. There are consequences.
So, y'all, Ashon is with the bullshit. That's all I'm going to say.
I am a lot.
Wow.
I just want you to feel. If I get you to feel or curse me out, then my job's successful.
Okay. Because, like I said, I put that book down a couple of times and was like, oh, okay, sir, this is what we're doing. All right.
Yeah.
All I know is I better open this book back up and somebody better still be here. Or we gonna have a problem.
Some people will be. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So when will the third one be out?
I'm hoping to have it released next fall.
Okay.
I'm on track for that. I'll have that one, and actually, it's a bit of a side story. It's in the same, if you want to call it, universe.
Okay.
It's a supernatural thriller called Essence of a Butterfly. I'm not giving the title of the third book yet, but I do have it. And it'll.
I mean, can you tell a sister offline?
I can tell you, yeah, offline.
Okay.
And this one, Nola does appear in it in Essence of a Butterfly as well.
Okay.
But the third book should be released by next fall.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, where can readers find your books?
You can order signed copies at Dreadful Times Press. That is my press that I've opened. So you can go there. There's links to order, like I said, the signed copies, or you can follow any other links. I'm on all major platforms, ebook, in some bookstores. And if you're listening from Kentucky or Virginia or Texas, you should go to your Barnes & Nobles. You should be able to find Descent of a Broken Man there. And if you're in Louisiana, I'm in the public libraries as well.
Okay. And where can we find you on social media?
Just about everywhere. It takes a lot of time. So on Instagram, I'm still calling it Twitter. It's Mama Name on Twitter. I'm going to call him Twitter.
That's what I say all the time. Mama Name McClay, I'm going to call him Clay.
Right. So Dreadful Times Press on Facebook. You can find me on Facebook as well.
Okay.
And TikTok. I'm on TikTok. And it's like my writing, life through fiction. So.
Okay, life through fiction. All right. Well, we have come to the end of our show, sir. I want to thank you so much for sharing your time and your talents with us today and for being here with me today.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I've been watching your show and I love it. I'm just grateful that you decided to have me on. I really appreciate it.
Well, I'm glad you are watching the show. Thank you for the support. I truly enjoyed the book. And if y'all can get the book directly from his website, he gives you a bookmark. And that bookmark is special. You got to pay attention. Ashon be throwing little things out there, and you got to pay attention. It's subtle stuff. It
is.
Pay attention. Pay attention. And y'all know what time it is. At the end of every show, I leave you with a quote. And my quote today comes from American diplomat and former U.S. Senator Carol Moseley Braun, and she says, "Defining myself as opposed to being defined by others is one of the most difficult challenges I face." Until next time, y'all, you know what to do. Grab a book and read. And I'm out. Thank you for lending me your ear today. If you've enjoyed this independent podcast, you can help me continue to shine the light on Black authors and their stories by becoming a patron at patreon.com/betweenthereads or by giving a one-time gift at www.ko-fi.com/betweenthereadspodcast. That's ko-fi.com/betweenthereadspodcast. Tune in next time for another great episode.